When the strange and old almanac appears by your side, please do not discard it. In this already shattered and distorted world, I have only one piece of advice: please remember the appropriate and taboos, and go out to read the almanac. Good luck to you, old calendar. Keywords of the novel. Unscrupulous calendar without pop-ups, Unscrupulous Calendar TXT Complete Collection Download, Unscrupulous Calendar Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Recruitment on the third day of April. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Recruitment on the third day of April. On the third day of April, on the day of G Mao in the month of Ding Si. Suitable for haircut, decoration, bathing, and opening. Avoid getting married. Are you willing to be with her forever, whether she will be rich or poor, healthy or uncomfortable in the future? In the Shishan Cathedral on the outskirts of Linxiang City, as the witness of the marriage, the priest's voice was slightly abrupt, and his smile was also somewhat uncomfortable. The bride's hair is tied into an elegant bun with exquisite hair accessories, and her skin is fair and transparent like sheepskin and jade skin. Her wedding dress is like a blooming water lily. Her eyes flickered, waiting for Qin Zhe's answer. Qin Zhe's lips curved into a smile, and he instinctively wanted to say, "I am willing." But when the words reached my mouth, a chill came from my spine. Don't answer, don't speak, don't make a sound. Hurry up and leave the church. The warning in his mind startled Qin Zhe, and he instantly regained consciousness. His pupils dilated slightly, and his lips closed tightly. The bride held Qin Zhe's hands. "Darling, what's wrong with you? Are you nervous? Are you unwilling to marry me?" The priest let out a urging cough. The guests in the audience were also muttering softly, with a hint of anxiety in their eyes, and their breathing gradually became rapid. Qin Zhe did not respond. He looked seriously at his bride. "Xiao Wei." Just from the impeccable appearance, which makes people unable to resist skipping the wedding process and directly getting married, this is indeed Xiao Wei. In the decadent and boring life, Xiao Wei is the miracle of his life, always able to bring new and exciting experiences. But right now, looking at the eerie and wriggling shadows of people around in the corner of my eye, the situation clearly goes beyond the scope of stimulation. The frequency of shadow peristalsis becomes increasingly rapid, as if some kind of manic desire is being released. The priest's expression also changed from unnatural to ferocious in an instant. "Anyway, you are willing to be with her forever. On the third day of April, at 3:25 p.m. On the outskirts of Linxiang, Shishan Cathedral." No more, the whole room was filled with guests, and over 100 people saw this scene. The groom and bride disappeared in place. The man in a brown suit is 1.9 meters tall. Beside him was a thin and frail teenager wearing white short-sleeved jeans. The church in the outskirts of Linxiang has been sealed off, and recently, there was a rare, human evaporation, at this wedding venue. This scene is too eerie, and the police easily thought it was a bizarre event. Leave professional matters to professionals. So currently, there are only 2 people in the vast crime scene. Everyone smelled the nauseating bloody smell and described seeing the blood-red light. Preliminary judgment shows that one of the groom and bride was selected by the calendar and committed taboo. The most likely keyword to avoid is marriage, and the level of danger to avoid is the highest level of conscription. Oh, by the way, the groom's name is Qin Zhe, and the bride's name is Xiao Wei. Neither of them are locals. The young man nodded slightly. Among Qin Zhe or Xiao Wei, there must be someone with bad luck. Or high qualifications. It's a pity. There is indeed a saying in the industry that people who hold calendars have higher qualifications when they first commit taboos, as the situation becomes more dangerous. The tall man will always remember that the calendar suddenly appeared at his house on the 7th day of May. On the day of Guichou in the Wu month, it is advisable to open for business, haircut, bury, and pave the way. Avoid entering the house. That is to say, moving into a new home. That day, he happened to move into his new home, and various accidents kept happening along the way. Neighbor Lao Wang and the wife of the victim fell and died in an affair downstairs in the new residential area. The mover suddenly fell ill on the way, the delivery guy injured the upstairs residents with a knife, the elevator in the community malfunctioned and fell rapidly, and the bad weather. It can be said that all the difficulties pile up together. But this is just the lowest level of suffering. The man was fortunate that he didn't have high qualifications, and what he encountered that day was not the second level of despair. Although the higher the taboo level, the richer the reward for survival, the prerequisite for receiving rewards is to be able to live. As for the further distortion, descent, and conscription, they are obstacles that are detached from the reality level, and this situation is extremely rare. The man's thoughts return to the present. We arrived too late, and there is no room for redemption in this matter. We can only press the matter down for now. A new couple mysteriously disappeared in front of everyone's eyes, which was indeed strange. Finding a reason, or rather finding a criminal gang to blame, is not a difficult task. Whether it's a tall man or a skinny teenager, they all agree on one thing: the groom Qin Zhe and bride Xiao Wei all died. Although that world has countless secrets, the likelihood of ordinary people being recruited into a world full of eerie rules is zero. But not long after the two of them left the church, the young man suddenly received a phone call. After hanging up the phone and being silent for several seconds, he finally regained his composure and said, "We need to change our itinerary, it's unbelievable. The groom is still alive. Qin Zhe is indeed still alive. The people in the church have indescribable shadows, and their contours have long been different from those of humans. The air was filled with a bloody smell, and each person's flesh and blood were expanding, as if something was about to break out, echoing the wriggling of shadows. Even the church itself began to thicken and soften like melted chocolate. Don't answer, don't speak, don't make a sound." Intuition tells Qin Zhe that this is a rule, that he is in an abnormal area and must find a way to escape. He also doesn't know why he knows this rule. He only knows that if he doesn't die, he won't die. As he stepped out of the church, he heard a familiar voice. "Dear, forgive me for not being able to answer your inner confusion. Please find the calendar in the bedroom. This is a curse and a miracle. When you fully grasp it, we will meet again." Afterwards, Qin Zhe opened his eyes, as if breaking free from a nightmare. What comes into view is no longer the twisted church and monsters, but the ceiling of the wedding bedroom. On the bay window sill in the bedroom, he quickly saw the diary-sized calendar with a silver-white envelope. This is an old almanac. Just a glance seems to make one feel the evil of this thing. There is no origin, it will make people feel that it has some kind of magic. Qin Zhe suppressed all his thoughts, flipped through the almanac, and when he saw the first page, he was completely stunned. On the 3rd day of April, the 6th day of the Dingxi month, it is suitable for haircutting, decoration, bathing, and opening. Avoid getting married. The first page of the almanac is not January 1st, but today. Watching the final taboo of getting married, Qin Zhe felt his scalp tingling and his chicken skin suddenly rising. Even as an atheist, when it comes to marriage, it is customary or recommended by family and friends to choose a good day. I remember very clearly, the 3rd day of the 4th lunar month in the lunar calendar and the 21st day of the 5th lunar month in the Gregorian calendar. The day I chose was an absolutely auspicious day in the Chinese zodiac. Qin Zhe immediately took out his phone, looked at his social circle first, and then checked the almanac. Sure enough, today on my phone is the 3rd day of April, the 21st day of the 5th lunar month. Whether it is appropriate or taboo, they are completely different from the description in this silver and white almanac. Combining my own terrifying experiences with Xiao Wei's final words, Qin Zhe realized a possibility. Generally speaking, the auspiciousness and inauspiciousness in the Chinese almanac are originally based on the concept of picture one joy. If one speaks well, it is called mysticism, but if one speaks poorly, it is called superstitious dross. But now it seems that this is a real almanac, and the taboos on it will really affect reality. Xiao Wei. What kind of magic box have you opened? The newlywed wife disappears and evaporates from the human world, with deformed monsters, pervasive blood, and eerie rules the mysterious old almanac. Everything that happens today is enough to drive a person crazy, and their understanding of the past world will be completely overturned. Qin Zhe did not go crazy. He just remained silent, constantly replaying Xiao Wei's words in his mind. I won't be able to see you again until I completely master the calendar. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Zhe suddenly stood up. It was like entering a special state, and his eyes were filled with light. If Qin Zhe's infatuation with Xiao Wei stems from her mystery, then Xiao Wei's infatuation with Qin Zhe stems from Qin Zhe's playfulness. Experiencing eerie fears, the sadness of losing a wife, and even all irrelevant emotions are temporarily suppressed when facing puzzles. Qin Zhe showed an extremely focused expression. Decrypting the calendar and mastering it should be the key. At present, it can be assumed that all the strangeness I encountered today is related to the calendar. Assuming this is the truth, the strangeness I encountered on my wedding day was all due to committing taboos. Avoidance represents obstacles, and avoiding marriage leads to me, who participated in marriage, almost dying in a strange world. So what is appropriate? On the 3rd day of April, on the day of Ji Mao in the month of Ding Si. Suitable for haircut, decoration, bathing, opening. Qin Zhe looked at the independent bathroom in the bedroom. He suddenly became curious about what would happen while bathing today. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Bathing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Old Calendar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Old Calendar. On the 21st day of the 5th lunar month, on the 3rd day of the 4th lunar month, at 3:54 p.m. Inside the Linxiang City Police Station, Qin Zhe could feel that many people seemed unfriendly when their gaze turned to him. Do you know that your wife Xiao Wei is actually a millionaire? The police officer looked at Qin Zhe, his face full of interrogation. I don't know, the wedding house we bought has an area of 85 square meters and has been converted into a 2-bedroom, 1 living room apartment. The decoration cost 160,000 yuan. It is located in Yuknu City, a very cheap community, with a monthly mortgage of 26,000 yuan. I have an aunt downstairs who enjoys playing games and introducing people for blind dates, as well as an uncle who occasionally disrupts the public by listening to records. If you put it on social media, they would call it a slum. Have you ever seen such a wealthy person? Qin Zhe responded fluently to the interrogated officer. He really didn't know that Xiao Wei was a wealthy woman. At least, in his perception, Xiao Wei is not a wealthy woman. I bought a very ordinary house, and my food and clothing were also very popular. I don't like the steel wire ball that symbolizes wealth and endurance. But he cannot rule out this possibility. After all, Xiao Wei has some connection with the mysterious realm. If wizards from the Harry Potter world come to the Muggle world, even delivering packages should earn more money than ordinary people, right? Of course, this is not the focus of his visit to the police station. The point is, everyone thought he and Xiao Wei were dead. He doesn't want to die in the legal sense yet, and many things still need to be done alive for convenience. So when he came to the police station, he simply confessed that nothing had happened to him and hoped that the police could find the whereabouts of his wife Xiao Wei. Officer, he is somewhat aware of some shady things. It is also known that a new department was established last year outside the police station to specifically address certain bizarre incidents. So officer, he had a preconceived belief that Qin Zhe should have lost his wealthy wife through some unscientific means. After all, a dead rich woman is a good rich woman. Getting promoted, getting rich, and dying a wife sounds so pleasing to the ear. If you occasionally pay homage to your deceased wife and erect an infatuated character, how will you respond? You look calm, don't you care about your wife's death at all? Suddenly disappearing in front of everyone's eyes, although you said you can't remember what happened, wouldn't you feel scared? But you don't look scared at all. Officer, he asked a question in his heart. Sadness and anger can both affect the speed of thinking, but moderate fear can make one's thoughts more flexible. I'm actually trying to make myself a little scared. But I'm sorry, looking at your lovely faces, I can't get scared. So I can only maintain my current composure, Chin-Zicheng answered earnestly. Cute. Is this considered satire? Officer, he angrily patted the table. You kid, take me seriously. Chin-Zhe was surprised, he thought he was really serious. After all, compared to the wriggling creatures in that world, the police officer in front of me has a round head, big ears, and runs like a colonel, which is really cute. He believes that this word is suitable for both men and women, and the other person should not be so angry. I need to remind you that I have nothing to do with the case, I am also a victim. If you think that Xiao Wei's disappearance is related to me, then please state the mode of crime and evidence. I came here to entrust you to help me find Xiao Wei, although the possibility is very low. Officer, he is actually just framing Chin-Zhe, he really has no evidence. That is to say, seeing Chin-Zhe voluntarily explain the situation, I couldn't rule out some possibility, and out of professional instinct, I probed it. Mr. Chin-Zhe, I'm sorry, but we just hope to find the clues soon. We hope you can cooperate with us. Another younger, skinny police officer suddenly spoke up. Chin-Zhe nodded, he actually understood very well. It concerns my wife, and I will definitely cooperate. If you think it's necessary, I can provide all my conversation information for the past few days, whether it's phone calls or social media chat records. But browser records don't work, as you all know, that's a man's dead end. He was so candid that the police officers didn't know how to answer the conversation for a moment. Soon, a phone call came. After receiving the call, officer, he looked at Chin-Zhe with a strange gaze and remained silent for several seconds before saying, "You can go now." Chin-Zhe nodded, this phone call was obviously problematic. But he doesn't care, there are still many puzzles he needs to solve now. What he most wants to do now is to wait until midnight tonight and see what changes will happen to the calendar when a new day arrives. Inside a building outside the Linxiang police station. The boy wearing white short-sleeved jeans, holding a telescope, said. After Chin-Zhe entered the police station, Lao he contacted us. Now he is about to leave. Tall men still find it unbelievable. I didn't expect. There really is a newcomer who can come back alive from that twisted world. Or is it that he's not a newcomer? He appears to be in a normal mental state. The young man shook his head. On his wedding day, he suffered an accident and went to that hellish place again. Unfortunately, he was already out of control. When some people are sad, they try their best to cover it up and pretend to be calm. If that's the case, it's okay. I'm just afraid that a person's wife will die, but the calmness on his face is not pretending. We must figure out whether Chin-Zhe's calendar is white or black. The tall man asked, should we arrest him now? The young man shook his head. Although we need to be wary of all possibilities, we cannot judge Chin-Zhe's guilt based on assumed possibilities. And his ability to come back alive also indicates that he is not simple. Let's not have a direct conflict with him. The tall man understood the young man's thoughts and nodded. At night, it's 11:57 minutes. After leaving the police station in the afternoon, Chin-Zhe did not contact any other guests attending the wedding. Those are all Xiao Wei's friends, not his friends. His friends are few, so few that he can count them with one hand. After returning home, Chin-Zhe has been studying the calendar. Of course, there are also online searches for some things. Chapter 4.0 Keyword Calendar. Another keyword. Second world. The result is naturally that nothing was found. A slightly interesting thing is probably a thought-provoking post posted by a fisherman on a forum a long time ago titled, "If There Were Many Versions of the World." That post was once very popular, but later it was deleted a lot. Qin Zhe did not find any useful information, so he could only wait. Wait for midnight to arrive, enter a new day, and see how the calendar will change. Similarly, waiting for this moment, there was also a duo following him along the way. Outside the Yuk New City Community Building, the duo is also looking for opportunities to infiltrate Qin Zhe's residence. They didn't mean to harm Qin Zhe, but to confirm whether Qin Zhe's calendar was black or white. This is extremely important for both of them, and even for the public security of Linxiang City. The time quickly arrived at 11:59. Qin Zhe opened the silver calendar and waited for a new day to come. 57 seconds, 58 seconds, 59 seconds, when Qin Zhe found that the content on the calendar was indeed updated, and April 3rd became April 4th, he became excited again. The first page of the calendar presented a state similar to settlement, with new textual information constantly appearing in the blank space. It seems that by surviving in Taboos, one has received some kind of reward. This reward seems very generous. However, Qin Zhe did not first go to see what he had obtained. He is more curious about the content of appropriate and taboo when a new day arrives. He flipped through the calendar, his excitement growing stronger in his eyes. But soon, the expression on his face froze. On the 4th day of the 4th lunar month, on the Gingshan day of the Dingxi month. Prayer, move into a new house, go on a mission, and be buried. Avoid staying indoors. Taboo level. Descent. Avoid staying indoors, generally referring to staying indoors. Avoiding behavior should be leaving the house to avoid traveling. At this moment, Qin Zhe, who was in his bedroom at home, suddenly felt the yin energy in the room. It seemed a bit heavy. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Prayer on the 4th day of April. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Prayer on the 4th day of April, should we say it's bad luck, or is it just me? I happen to be inside the house. Qin Zhe noticed one thing. After this taboo, the taboo level was marked, level. Descent. It looks like a certain level of danger, but I don't know which one is more dangerous than what I experienced during the day. Qin Zhe didn't think too much about what it meant to come. The yin energy in the room is getting heavier and heavier. He has always believed that the so-called yin energy is essentially cold energy, just a more superstitious nickname. But right now he did feel some kind of sinister and eerie. Suddenly, footsteps came from outside the door, which was a very dull sound. At such midnight, it appears extremely eerie. The sound seemed to come from a distance, accompanied by a more terrifying sense of oppression than the yin energy in the room. This kind of pressure even affected Qin Zhe's breathing rhythm. Avoid staying indoors, so as long as I leave this room, I won't be considered guilty. The meaning of coming may refer to something dirty coming into this room. For example, the monster I saw in that world. Although in that twisted wedding, he always felt that those guys with wriggling shadows were not considered high-level monsters. But supernatural things are not something that an ordinary person can handle. I have to leave here. Qin Zhe quickly made up his mind and prepared to escape this room as quickly as possible. As he was escaping from the bedroom, his figure passed by the isometric mirror in the dressing room. In the mirror, he didn't see himself, only a shapeless black shadow. This is really damn. Roast can effectively alleviate fear. Qin Zhe dared not look in the mirror too much. He was afraid of what was in the mirror and came to his side in some kind of island horror movie. With a heart-wrenching, he rushed towards the position where the door handle was located, ready to twist the handle. The shower in the bathroom suddenly sprayed water. The massage chair with Bluetooth function, I don't know which channel it is connected to, but there is a penetrating sound coming from the sound system. Qin completely ignored it. Option 1 is to escape from the residence. The important thing to note is: don't be disturbed by any terrifying elements and don't stop walking away from this room. After clarifying the idea of breaking the situation, Qin left the bedroom directly. A house of only 70.80 square meters, naturally there is no such thing as a dark corridor, which is only found in Japanese-style residences. But Qin could feel a certain sinister aura in the living room. He really hopes to hear the sound of Teacher Zhou's records downstairs or Aunt Wang's roaring lion from the east at this moment. At least it can get some popularity. There may be danger in the living room, but I cannot rule out this danger, which may be a barrier to my escape. During his contemplation, Qin heard the sound of cracks spreading in the mirror. The sound made him feel toothache, and in an instant, he entered the living room. Without any hesitation, Qin selectively ignored the red cracks intertwined with flesh and blood on the ceiling of the living room and walked directly towards the entrance. Just in his breath, he touched the handle of the anti-theft door. He decisively turned the door handle and successfully opened the anti-theft door. But outside the door is not the hallway of the floor, but the bedroom. Ghosts hit the wall. The isometric mirror in the bedroom and cloakroom is already covered in cracks, like an eggshell hit on a stone. The arrival of evil is about to be completed. Qin took a few steps back, but quickly continued forward, passing through the anti-theft door. There are currently 3 suspected points of descent. The first one is in the bedroom mirror. The second one is in the ceiling crack in the living room. The third and highest level place is outside the door, where the footsteps come from. If I return to the living room now, I will face flesh and blood cracks, which feel more dangerous than a mirror. Perhaps there is no ghost hitting the wall, what you see in your eyes is just an obstacle to prevent yourself from stepping out of the anti-theft door. But when Qin passed through the anti-theft door, he really returned to the bedroom. The things in the mirror became clearer and more cracked. Qin didn't hesitate and decisively opened the bedroom window. Undoubtedly, the scene outside the window connects to the living room. The living room is outside the window, and the bedroom is outside the door. It's like this room has become a true circular structure, and I can't leave it all. Outside the window, crimson blood oozed from the cracks in the living room. The cold and gloomy atmosphere enveloped the entire room. Normally, after many unsuccessful attempts, Qin should feel hopeless. But he didn't despair, he saw all the eerie things in front of him as a game with Xiao Wei. From the past situation, it can be seen that Xiao Wei does love to come up with some problems, some of which are quite tricky, but there are always solutions. There must be a way to get out of here. Qin recalled all the information in his mind. When the mirror is about to shatter and strange things are about to descend from the cracks, Qin suddenly realized that there was other information in the calendar. On the 4th day of the 4th lunar month, the Gingqian day of the Dingxi month, it is advisable to pray, move into a new house, go to the office, and be buried. Moving into a new house doesn't count. Although it's a wedding house, I've been living in it for a while. I can't do anything about going to the office, burying. So all I can do is pray. Bathing can have a refreshing effect on me, so what about prayer? Faced with difficulties, especially those that cannot be solved, humans like to pray. In reality, praying is more like seeking peace of mind. It is an act of powerlessness in itself. But the prayers in this eerie calendar cannot be based on ordinary theories. Qin quickly organized new ideas. Option 1 is to escape from the residence, which is currently not feasible. Option 2 is now being implemented, using magic to defeat magic. There are small successes and big successes in bathing, and even the possibility of failure, so I believe praying is also possible. Based on the level of things that come with uncertainty, whether uncertainty can offset taboos, I must strive to achieve great success as much as possible. Prayers in reality may not necessarily be ineffective, but one must find the right path. It's like if a candidate wants to pray that they can do well in exams, then they shouldn't worship Guaniri, but should worship Yang Chaoyue. So, the key to the effectiveness of prayer may lie in who to pray to. Qin Zhe quickly thought of who to pray to. Outside the Yuk New City community. Qin Zhe is in danger, there is a problem with that building. The tall man clearly felt a certain evil aura in the unit building where Qin Zhe was located. For those in the old calendar, sensing a similar aura in the real world often means that someone has triggered arrival or distortion. The boy also felt the strangeness of that building, even if it was a distance away. He said in surprise. But Qin Zhe has already passed his first day. Is this a coincidence? On the first day of the calendar, the holder often makes a mistake on a crucial and difficult to avoid matter. Teenagers faced the college entrance examination, while tall men face moving. The calendar silently selected them, all on things that are difficult to avoid. But this is only the first day. If you successfully survive from the first day, then the taboo of refreshing the calendar afterwards may not be able to compete with the holder's life. So they don't understand why Qin Zhe is in danger again. The boy and tall man ran towards the unit building where Qin Zhe was located, preparing to rescue him. In their observation, Qin Zhe is more likely to be a newcomer, perhaps through some special method. He learned about the rules of a certain region in the Eerie world where this newcomer survived and successfully returned to the real world. The likelihood of this kind of thing is basically zero. Under this assumption, Qin Zhe is indeed a worthy candidate to be wooed. Both young and tall men believe that a newcomer cannot survive from conscription and then from descent. The possibility of this kind of thing is basically zero. On the 13th floor of the Yuk New City community. Before the arrival is about to be completed, Qin Zhe must select a prayer object. Since it's using magic to defeat magic, and assuming the incoming monsters come from the same place as the group of monsters I encountered during the day. So the object of my prayer should preferably come from that eerie world, rather than the fictional gods in the real world. The logic is that since monsters in that world can descend through taboo, then corresponding to it, other beings in that world can also respond to prayers through appropriate. Qin Zhe is not familiar with that twisted and eerie world. But in that world, there was indeed Qin Zhe's network of people. Coincidentally, Qin Zhe also wants to know whether she is playing a newcomer or a tough character in it. He ultimately locked in the object of prayer. Xiao Wei. Update as stable as possible at 3 p.m. Of course, there is no guarantee. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Wife's Might. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Wife's Might. After locking the prayer object, Qin Zhe did not immediately carry out the prayer ceremony. If prayer works, then essentially, I am asking for someone to do something. Asking the right person is just the first step, and I need to figure out what I can pray for. Even if the other person responds to my prayer, it is impossible to make unrealistic wishes like a lamp god. After clarifying the logic, Qin Zhe began preparing for the prayer ceremony. He needs a token of Xiao Wei. In their wedding room, this kind of thing can be said to be everywhere, such as rings. Even before the wedding began, Xiao Wei proposed exchanging their wedding rings. This naturally doesn't follow the process, but Qin Zhe doesn't find it strange either. Xiao Wei's failure to follow the rules is beyond counting. Next is the confirmation ceremony. There are actually many types of prayer rituals, different countries, different eras, different believers, and different methods. But for Qin Zhe, this is not a difficult task. He had seen Xiao Wei pray, so he begged for her help and just followed Xiao Wei's way. The sinister atmosphere in the room became increasingly strong. The eerie black mist had already seeped out from the cracks in the mirror, like a crawling evil spirit, slowly approaching Qin Zhe. The ceiling of the living room also heard the gurgling sound of flesh and blood contracting. The footsteps in the corridor became heavier and heavier, as if they had already arrived at the door. Qin Zhe ignored it. The person who can still leave silently at the wedding scene after seeing their wife, the wedding priest, and all the guests split apart. Obviously, their heart is not as big as usual. He closed his eyes, clenched the ring in his left hand, pressed it against his chest, and silently prayed. The content of prayer. Peace. During this process, he smelled a bloody smell and could feel the coldness around him, like some kind of sinister breath, landing on his neck. But he never opened his eyes and did not stop the process of praying. Until the voice in my mind comes to mind. Qin Zhi decisively opened his eyes. He remembers very clearly that after completing the act of bathing, a different message came to his mind. The appearance of this information also indicates that E is taking effect. There are often people who pray to God and worship Buddha, but those who pray to their wives and worship their wives are rare. Although the person you pray to is very busy, because the person you pray to is you, this prayer has achieved great success. Who says she loves you? Safe zone. The area where this effect is obtained will slowly recover your injury and restore your physical strength. In this area, you will be extremely difficult to be affected by supernatural effects. At the same time, no one can enter the safe zone without your consent, and there is an expelling and annihilating effect on twisted creatures weaker than the shelter. The duration is 48 hours. The following scene made Qin Zhe feel unprecedented sense of security. Standing in the safe zone, Qin Zhe saw the spreading cracks in the ceiling of the living room, as if encountering an unparalleled and even more terrifying predator. The crack closed at an astonishing speed. In the bedroom, the mirror surface, which was originally full of cracks, dissipated one after another like mist. In no time, the mirror surface becomes smooth and even. The shower head no longer sprays water, and the massage chair seems to have never made a sound. All the strange phenomena disappeared after the prayer was completed. Everything is completed silently, like an unstoppable evil coming, but in an instant, encountering an even more terrifying existence, scattering like birds and beasts. Qin Zhe's expression is complex. Is that all for now? It's even faster than I imagined. Can I be considered having a soft meal now? Although derived from his logic, praying to Qiao Wei is the most reasonable arrangement. Although intuition told him that Qiao Wei may not be a small character. I can truly see the reunion of the broken mirror and the appearance of the evil spirit escaping in a somewhat frightened manner. Qin Zhe was still shocked. The feeling of rescuing heroes with beauty is really wonderful. But assuming it's just a game challenge, praying to you is essentially a skill and prop. So using you and testing your effects is also very reasonable, right, Qiao Wei? Qiao Wei naturally couldn't respond to Qin Zhe, and Qin Zhe was in a good mood. Because since Qiao Wei responded to her prayers, it can be seen that Qiao Wei is still alive. No matter how bad today's experience may be, it seems that it has become interesting and beautiful after being convinced that Qiao Wei is still alive. Bang! The dull footsteps were like a heavy hammer striking on the soul. Qin Zhe's smile froze, and he immediately looked at the anti-theft door with caution. Just as he was wondering why the evil outside the door had not been expelled, he heard a knock on the door. Dong, dong, dong. After 3 orderly knocking sounds, the evil outside the door said, "I left your package at the door." Its voice is as dull as its footsteps. After the words fell, the immense sense of oppression also disappeared. About 10 seconds later, Qin Zhe finally regained his senses. He quickly identified the current situation. Delivery after midnight. Well, compared to what I experienced today, it's not surprising. It seems like some kind of reward. Since Qiao Wei responded to the prayer and the evil was also expelled, then the footsteps outside the door must not be the evil. And Qin Zhe remembers that at midnight, he saw the previous page of the calendar and presented the settlement interface. He has a seemingly generous survival reward. He never looked because he was more curious about what would happen on the new day. Until then, Qinze was convinced that there was no danger before returning to his bedroom and flipping through the calendar. On the third day of the fourth month, Qinze, the holder of the old calendar, successfully survived the taboo of the recruitment level. Obtained a quality point and a page of the golden calendar manuscript. It is currently unclear what quality and golden calendar manuscript are. I'm not sure what this thing is for, but Qinze is not in a hurry. The difficulty I experienced yesterday was called conscription. Coming was when the evil came to my place, and conscription seemed to pull me into the place where the evil was. It seems that conscription is a bit more dangerous. Holding the calendar, Qinze walked to the location of the shoe cabinet and twisted the door handle to open the anti-theft door. At the moment he opened the door, he had a premonition that if he felt anything wrong, he would immediately close the door. According to the safe zone, as long as you do not allow the other party to enter, they will not be able to enter. Fortunately, after opening the door, Qinze didn't see anything. The door was empty, and the owner of the dull footsteps had long since passed away. At the threshold, there was only one page emitting a golden color. The handwriting on it is very messy. I almost lost my life in exchange for the manuscript, hoping to have a matching value. He was about to pick up the manuscript and take a closer look, but just as he bent down to pick it up, at the end of the corridor, a sudden sound came. Qinze. Are you okay? Are you surprisingly okay? Qinze was taken aback for a moment, and he quickly confirmed that the other party was not an unresponsive evil. Tonight was really lively. He picked up the golden manuscript, then stood up straight and turned his head to look in the direction of the sound. That is a young man wearing white short-sleeved jeans and a tall man wearing a brown suit. Recalling the police station officer he received a phone call and suddenly readily let himself go. Qinze probably guessed that the two of them were related to that phone call. Seeing the other party staring straight at the golden manuscript with astonishment and envy in their eyes, it seemed that there was no malice. This means that the two of them know this thing, which means they know the calendar. Belonging to the so-called insiders. Qinze calmly said. Should I have something to do? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Organization. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6 Organization. During Qinze's prayer, the young man and tall man raced towards the unit building where Qinze was located. They felt the aura of higher twisted creatures descending. The closer Qinze is to the floor, the stronger the eerie aura becomes, and their predictions of the danger level of the situation continue to increase. But just a few seconds before they finally arrived at the floor, the strong evil aura instantly dissipated. It seems like nothing has ever existed, everything is just an illusion. When the two arrived at the 13th floor where Qinze was located, what came into view was the quiet floor where Qinze was bending down to pick up something. Both of them couldn't conceal their astonishment, as they never expected that the evil aura would be purified so quickly. Not to mention, what Qinze was holding was a golden calendar manuscript. Qinze looked at the two people. The first action was to respond, and the second action was to step inside with one foot. Chatting in the hallway is very disruptive to the public. Do you want to come over and talk? Qinze entered the entrance, but did not return to the living room. Even if he had guessed that the other party had no ill intentions, he did not intend to invite them in. The young man and tall man outside the door quickly regained their senses and walked towards the position where Qinze was. Hello, this is my first time meeting. Let me introduce myself. My name is Cheng Wan and this is my partner, Duke. Cheng Wan is a young man wearing white short sleeves. There is a faint smell of engine oil on the body. He didn't extend his hand to shake hands. Because Cheng Wan felt a sense of estrangement. He stood outside the door, while Qinze stood inside the door. The two of them are very close, but there is an invisible barrier, with an indescribable sense of distance. Duke is the tall man wearing a coffee-colored suit. Hello, I'm Duke. Compared to Cheng Wan, Duke appears slightly cold and stern. Duke and Cheng Wan both had doubts in their hearts about how the powerful and sinister aura disappeared. Qin Zhe remained silent for a few seconds without introducing himself, as the other party had already reviewed his various files. He asked the first question. Tell me why you came to see me. Cheng nodded later. He and Duke were already prepared for this question. Mr. Qin, we would like to know if you have noticed that your home, theoretically speaking, should have a very prominent location, with an additional calendar. Very good, now Qin Zhe is certain that the calendar is not his unique, golden finger. This somewhat disappointed Qin Zhe. This calendar is indeed dangerous, but if used properly, it can yield many magical effects. If it's unique to oneself, this thing is like a cheat in a cool article. Of course, this also means that one can obtain more information about the calendar from others in order to find Xiao Wei faster. Qin Zhe nodded and then asked the second question. Your calendar is also taboo for staying indoors today. This is a question, but it also answers the questions of Cheng Wan and Duke. Duke shook his head and said. Different old calendar users have different preferences for refreshing their calendars every day. Cheng Wan was somewhat surprised. Avoid staying indoors. Qin Zhe is currently inside the house, which is quite frightening for those in the old calendar. Duke also realized this and immediately became alert. Qin Zhe remained calm. My taboos have been neutralized by Yi, and you should be able to feel that there is a certain magical effect in this room now. For example, you can't enter. Duke and Cheng Wan remained silent at the same time. A few seconds later, Duke said. Mr. Qin, could you please let us take a look at your calendar? Don't worry, we won't read the content that is suitable or taboo. We just need to take a look at the cover. Cheng Wan added. If you're not confident, you can take it further away. Qin Zhe frowned slightly. The safety zone effect of the house is only 48 hours. The other party appeared very friendly. But it is not ruled out that if one does not cooperate with the other party, it may lead to being harassed 48 hours later. After all, although I have a calendar, I currently know very little about it. Essentially, I am still an ordinary person. And Cheng Wan and Duke, since they can make the police release the person, their power must not be low. After comprehensive consideration, Qin Zhe chose to cooperate. He took out his calendar and stood a distance from the two of them. Cheng Wan and Duke don't mind either. When Qin Zhe saw the cover of the calendar, which was silver-white, he clearly felt that both of them breathed a sigh of relief. Duke, who was cold and stern, was no longer cold and stern, while Cheng Wan, who was relatively friendly, was even more friendly. Cheng Wan smiled and said, Mr. Qin, thank you for your cooperation. We have another question. Did you only discover the calendar yesterday? Yes. Qin Zhe did not let out the rhythm of the conversation. After answering the question, he immediately said. My wife Xiao Wei, is she in a very dangerous situation? The essence of this question is not to inquire about Xiao Wei's situation, but rather to test Xiao Wei's fame. If the calendar holder has their own circle, then Xiao Wei clearly entered the circle earlier than herself. However, Qin Zhe actually guessed that Xiao Wei may not be just mysterious about herself. Sure enough, Cheng Wan shook her head and said. Mr. Qin, I'm sorry. Ms. Xiao is indeed in a very dangerous situation. Don't blame yourself, no one expected the appearance of the calendar. Fortunately, you survived. Duke Xian said that it's not a danger, as an ordinary person, death is inevitable in that place. Qin Zhe realized that Cheng Wan believed that both Xiao Wei and herself were harmed by the calendar. I survived on my own, but Xiao Wei is likely to be gone. The most important thing is that their reaction to the name Xiao Wei is similar to the official expression of comfort to the victim's family members, with no other emotions. This also means that these two people seem unaware that the eerie wedding experience is highly likely planned by Qiao Wei. Many thoughts came to Qin Zhe's mind, and suddenly there was a feeling of Qiao Wei's layout. Choosing to speak about Qiao Wei or to remain silent is certainly not a question. Qin Zhe didn't even hesitate, he must have chosen to continue Qiao Wei's game to be more interesting. Fighting with one's wife brings endless joy. Obviously, Qiao Wei's level is much higher than that of Duke and Cheng Wan. This made Qin Zhe feel a little happy in his heart. I must keep Qiao Wei's secret until I know enough. After establishing such a basic point, Qin Zhe said. You have confirmed that I have a calendar and have looked at it, but you haven't left. Is there anything else? Cheng Wan and Duke exchanged a glance, seemingly inquiring about each other's opinions, and then both nodded at the same time. Qin Zhe must be very talented if he can survive the twisted survival obstacles twice. And Qin Zhe's calendar is silver-white. Which means that in the conventional sense, Qin Zhe is a good person. He was not corrupted by the calendar. Cheng Wan and Duke were also convinced that Qin Zhe had a certain talent for controlling emotions. This is also extremely important, as a calendar can potentially lead to a very unfortunate day for someone. And to destroy a person, it only takes one unfortunate enough day. Therefore, the official organization of the old calendar has certain requirements for the nature of the mind. In summary, Qin Zhe is a talented person. Even someone who is extremely suitable for having a calendar. I didn't immediately invite Qin Zhe to join because they only had the right to suggest. Cheng Wan looked at what was in Qin Zhe's hand and said. Mr. Qin, regarding the golden manuscript in your hand. I must remind you of some things. The original plan was to assign chapter names based on dates, but later on, I realized that this could lead to reconciliation, so I changed it to a normal number of chapters. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Golden Calendar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Golden Calendar, exactly, I also want to know what this is. Qin Zhe did not read the manuscript of the Golden Calendar. Reading in front of people is impolite. He actually wants to know what quality is and what Golden Calendar manuscript is. But he cannot ask. Because he had to assume a possibility. If it was something that could be snatched, if its value was high enough. This may lead to oneself being in danger of being plundered. So he would rather explore slowly on his own than ask questions. It would be best if the other party proactively mentions it. The answer is Duke. This is a clue to that world. You have participated in the recruitment, so you must be familiar with that world, right? That world. Qin Zhe smiled and said, is there no official explanation? The realm of the old calendar, Duke said. Qin Zhe nodded and said, continue. In many places of the old calendar realm, there are many strange rules. The old calendar realm itself also has many past events and powerful existence. Duke looked at the manuscript in Qin Zhe's hand and paused for a second before saying. The Golden Calendar manuscript, on the other hand, tells stories about the past, the strong, and the rules. In other words, the Golden Calendar manuscript is a novel story. When a person successfully returns from conscription, when the number of taboos they have committed accumulates to a certain extent. A special messenger will come to your doorstep and leave a chapter from the manuscript of the Golden Calendar. Messenger. Qin Zhe suddenly realized that the existence that brought a huge sense of oppression was not something sinister, it is a messenger. So it was not driven away by prayer. It did not come by chance, it only came to submit the manuscript because it had survived the taboo of conscription. After understanding all of this, Qin Zhe surprisingly felt a bit disappointed. What I almost lost my life in exchange for is actually just a fragment of a certain novel. Is this novel coherent? The person answering this question is Cheng Wan. No, the Golden Calendar manuscript is random, and the messenger will randomly give you one page. You don't know which chapter you will see. Okay, it's like this broken novel has unstable updates and even skipped chapters. The order is all messed up for you. What about keeping this anti-theft? Cheng Wan continued. Mr. Qin, the manuscript of the Golden Calendar is of great value. Although it tells the story of the old calendar in a narrative tone, there is indeed a lot to refer to in it. Perhaps in the future, if we accidentally avoid being called up and go to a certain area, precisely because the Golden Calendar manuscript mentions information about this area, we will be able to survive. Going to the realm of the old calendar, although extremely dangerous, can also lead to us receiving considerable rewards. Ah, I'm sorry, I've said too much. I can't tell you the reward for the old calendar realm for now. Cheng Wan suddenly realized that she was inducing taboos. Making taboos is very dangerous. Most experienced people will avoid taboos, and they only need to make good use of to live much better than ordinary people. You can also obtain extraordinary opportunities. The growth brought about by taboos is more rapid, and can become a powerful experienced person faster. But the prerequisite is to be able to survive. Seeking benefits and avoiding harm is the nature of all things. If you choose to take the initiative to avoid taboos, it will lead to every day being exceptionally unfortunate and difficult. It's hard to say if one day, they will suddenly be crushed by misfortune, causing the calendar to turn black and become a blacklist. Although Cheng Wan Duke did not say anything about the above content, Qin Zhe could vaguely guess. So, this thing in my hand is priceless. It can be considered a kind of guide for traveling through different worlds. Cheng Wan responded by saying. You can also say that. But it's just valuable for yourself. Only after your death. Can others read the content of the Golden Calendar manuscript? In other words, if you are alive, only you can understand the content of the manuscript, and others can read it like reading a heavenly book. Moreover, you cannot disclose it to others, and once revealed, you will be pursued by messengers. The person who was revealed will also have their memories erased, and may even be pursued. Duke spoke up and added. Don't underestimate the messenger. Although this title may seem ordinary, the messenger's strength is exceptionally terrifying. Qin Zhe has no doubt about this. Just the sound of footsteps can affect one's heartbeat and breathing, bringing a strong sense of oppression. It's hard to imagine how terrifying it would be for a messenger to fight. And it seems that the other party has mastered some kind of rule and can quietly appear near the calendar holder out of thin air. Qin Zhe shook his head. Only I can read this broken novel that I found together. If others want to read it, they have to kill me. And you said this thing has high value, so I'm already in danger. Just like now, if Cheng Wan Duke reveals about his acquisition of the Golden Calendar, his situation will be very passive. Is there still a way to rule this? Do you still have any laws? Cheng Wan and Duke seemed to sense Qin Zhe's doubts, and Duke explained. Generally speaking, those who obtain the Golden Calendar are those who can survive the taboos of conscription levels, and these people are all strong. There are almost no people like you who know nothing about the calendar but have been able to survive one after another from conscription and descent. This is also the first time we have encountered your situation. Qin Zhe understands. According to the normal process, when one comes into contact with the Golden Calendar, they already have sufficient self-protection ability. But I didn't follow the process myself. In the budding stage, one gains something that is only available later on. That's why we came to see you, Mr. Qin. On the one hand, we need to confirm your calendar color. On the other hand, your special circumstances require us to establish contact with you so that you can receive our help. We can show you our calendar, which, like you, is silver-white. This is a way of identification, representing that we are a righteous person in the public sense. It also means that we have not been corrupted by the old calendar. Qin Zhe could actually feel the sincerity between the words of the other party. Especially now, his situation is not very good. He is not sure if there will be abnormal practices such as divination and voyeurism, which may lead to a calendar holder discovering their possession of the golden calendar through non-natural forces. What do I need to do to cooperate with you? Just wait, we will come back to find you during the day. Cheng Wan's attitude has always been friendly. Although Duke may seem serious, he does not have any malice. Mr. Qin, we were originally responsible for quelling some distorted events. If you make a mistake for the first time and have not experienced conscription, and have survived, we will only remind you of some calendar-related matters. For example, in the future, don't make any taboos or disclose the existence of the calendar. It won't interfere with your actions in the future. Qin Zhe listened attentively, silently recording in his heart. Cheng Wan continued to add. But your situation is too special, almost no one will get the golden calendar manuscript the first time they make a mistake. Even what you may receive is not just the golden calendar manuscript. Considering your qualifications and personal safety considerations, we may have deeper cooperation in the future. Qin Zhe actually guessed what deeper cooperation means. He doesn't reject it. I'll wait for your news. Now I have the manuscript of the golden calendar, like a child carrying a gold ingot. There are 3 things that one can do on their own. The first thing is to throw away the gold ingot, but this is meaningless because the owner of the golden calendar does not die and others cannot interpret it. The second thing is to look for tissue in the thighs. For example, the 2 people in front of me. The most important thing is the third one. Improving one's own strength. As Cheng Wan said, what he has obtained is not only a golden calendar manuscript, but also quality. Qin Zhe vaguely felt that the manuscript brought information, while the quality brought an improvement in strength. At present, he needs strength, which requires figuring out how to use quality. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Praising the Gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Praising the Gods. Do you have any further questions? Qin Zhe asked. Cheng Wan and Duke suddenly realized that this sentence should not be on their own side. Qin Zhe's response to the crisis and calendar was indeed too calm. So much so that the conversation ended quickly and the process went exceptionally smoothly. Cheng Wan was somewhat envious of Qin Zhe's calm demeanor. He recalled the first day he encountered the calendar, when he was so scared that he trembled. On the first day of holding a calendar, one often avoids things that are difficult to avoid. Cheng Wan is afraid of taking exams. Level, distortion. Although they are all national language exams, in his exam paper, all the words are twisted like living creatures. The densely packed text gathered within the test paper, as if undergoing some kind of sacrificial ceremony. In the end, these words turned into fonts that seemed to be written with blood, and the title had become terrifying. If you must let someone die, who would you choose? Please choose carefully and decide their fate. There are 6 options for this question, all of which are acquaintances around Cheng Wan. And Cheng Wan does have a kind of. It seems that just making a choice will really kill someone's intuition. Cheng Wan was so scared that she almost collapsed. Fortunately, when he broke away from the behavior of taking exams, everything became normal. Later on, the organization came to his door and began explaining various situations to him. Of course, it is also necessary to confirm whether his mental state is still normal and whether the calendar turns black on the first day after experiencing the failure and eerie terror of the college entrance examination. Throughout the process, Cheng Wan did not have Qin Zhe's composure at all. He suddenly looked forward to people like Qin Zhe joining the organization. There's nothing else you want to ask, Mr. Qin. Do I have to develop the habit of staying up at 12 o'clock in the future? Qin Zhe asked the last question. Duke and Cheng nodded later. The calendar will refresh at midnight, and only on the first day will one encounter taboos without realizing it and finding it difficult to avoid. After spending this day, things will become much more normal, and taboo content can often be avoided. But it cannot be ruled out that after refreshing at 12 o'clock, the state in which you are doing something happens to be taboo. For example, Qin probably understood that taboo of staying indoors he encountered just now. So for those who follow the old calendar, at 12 o'clock, before the end of the day, they will wait for the calendar to refresh and confirm any taboos before taking a break. If you encounter something like avoiding sleep, it's best not to sleep on that day. Cheng Wan explained in great detail. Qin nodded. Thank you for your hard trip. Although I still have some questions, I hope to take a break and be alone for a while now. I will wait for your arrival during the day. Duke could sense that Qin was still somewhat cautious. But it is also within reason. There is indeed a lot more to talk about the calendar, but Duke is not in a hurry. Duke, who is tall and has a fierce face, although he likes to have a straight face, his view of Qin, like Cheng Wan, carries some appreciation. The two also have a premonition that they will continue to deal with Qin. We won't disturb you for now. Goodbye during the day, Mr. Qin. Okay, goodbye. On the 4th day of April, at 2 a.m. After washing up, Qin picked up some food in the refrigerator. Quick frozen dumplings, instant noodles, aged yogurt, jelly. They are all very convenient things to handle. Xiao Wei doesn't like cooking, and Qin doesn't like cooking either. Fortunately, both of them didn't choose. After filling his stomach, Qin returned to the bedroom. Sitting on the bed, he flipped through the calendar. As a convention, there is some extra text in the blank space on the second page of the calendar: prayer. Achieve great success. Obtain the 3rd level protection effect, safe zone. Consume appropriate 3 squares. On the 4th day of the 4th lunar month, on the Gingqian day of the Dingxi month. It is advisable to pray, already expired, move to a new house, already expired, go to a new post, already expired, and bury, already expired. Qin didn't think for too long this time. He noticed that the appropriate effects were divided into several levels. A, B, C, and D. Only with great success can one come to C, so how should A and B obtain it? These issues were quickly put aside by Qin because they were not important. I have already come into contact with the organizations of calendar holders, and naturally someone will answer these basic questions. The most crucial thing now is that I must figure out the usage method of quality. He already understands the value of the golden manuscript, but what about its quality? This problem has not troubled Qin for too long. When Qin's hand touched the calendar and his mind began to ponder quality, he received the message again. Each of us needs to make choices for our own lives, and the butterfly effect produced by each choice, pieced together, will ultimately determine the direction of our lives. Those of us, please make your choice, press the fingerprint on the calendar, and guide your quality and direction. Qin always felt that this was a conversation between the calendar and himself. But he has no evidence. As this message ends, 4 options appear in the blank section of the calendar. Outer body, soul, old calendar, function. Qin guessed that he had to choose one of these 4 options and press the fingerprint. Something called quality will probably be infused into the options to bring corresponding improvements to oneself. Enhance the outer body, enhance the soul, enhance the past, and enhance functions. The outer body, which should refer to the body, does it mean that choosing the outer body will make my physical ability stronger? The mind is also easy to understand, perhaps similar to spiritual attributes. But what does the old calendar and function mean? Qin did not make a choice. He waited for about 30 seconds, and the options that appeared in the blank section of the calendar disappeared from the blank section as if they had never appeared before. When Qin thought about quality again in his mind and touched the calendar, soon these 4 options appeared again. It seems that quality is a material used to enhance these 4 attributes. But I don't need to rush to allocate, at least I need to figure out exactly which abilities the 4 attributes point to before thinking about it. This question is not difficult. I believe Cheng Wan and the organization behind Duke can answer his confusion. After learning about ways to improve his abilities, Qin Zhe's heart relaxed a lot. From yesterday until now, everything that has happened, even for him, is too subversive. But Qin Zhe was clearly in some kind of excitement. Xiao Wei, I have to admit that this is more interesting and exciting than any game or challenge you have brought in the past. A new day has arrived, it is advisable to use it already and avoid spending it safely. Qin Zhe has started looking forward to the next day. But now, he has one more thing to do. After obtaining the manuscript of the Golden Calendar, he has not yet reviewed its contents. It was not until then that Qin Zhe unfolded the manuscript with a special material. The essence of the Golden Calendar manuscript is a novel story. Qin Zhe, who claims to be an old bookworm and has read many books, has a very picky taste in reading. He often comments on stories because his words are too sarcastic and have been banned by many novel authors. Qin Zhe also does not believe that the manuscript of the Golden Calendar would be written very well. After all, the value of this thing lies in its ability to obtain information about the realm of the old calendar, rather than its storytelling in literary nature. When Qin Zhe saw the first line of the story, he changed his perspective and showed great respect. The first line of the manuscript of the Golden Calendar is prominently written, "Praise the gods, this is the largest chest I have ever seen." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Company. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 10. Taboos on the 5th day of April. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. On the 5th day of the 4th month, Taboos Duke agreed with Cheng Wan's statement, and after some thought, he replied to Qin Zhe in the shortest possible sentence. Calendars bring many benefits, giving us different abilities that are related to our profession. In the next 7 days, it's best not to make any taboos and not to put yourself in danger. Hold a calendar and successfully survive for 7 days. The calendar will display your profession and assign you corresponding functions. Perhaps it could be a chef, doctor, accountant, butler, tour guide, or even a barber, and so on. These normal and unparalleled identities in reality do indeed possess corresponding special abilities. For example, I can move some objects' positions out of thin air. Of course, as I continue to improve my skills, the abilities brought by the porter will also continue to enhance. Sure enough, Qin Zhe said. Having encountered something like this, both Cheng Wan and Duke mentioned that it is almost impossible for ordinary people to survive. But these two people dared to come and rescue, which indicates that they have removed themselves from the category of ordinary people. Qin Zhe also noticed one thing. In Duke's context, it seems uncertain about the profession. Will the calendar determine my career based on some of my characteristics, lifestyle habits, and way of doing things? That is, we don't have the right to choose for ourselves. Duke and Cheng Wan have already boarded the car, and they once again marvel that Qin Zhe is indeed a born veteran. There are many things that can be understood by oneself without going into detail. Cheng Wan replied in the group. We are actually exploring the factors that influence our careers. Two individuals who had previously engaged in the same behavior within an organization were given examples of different professions. This thing doesn't seem to be qualitative. But it's not entirely random either. For example, in reality, if you are a doctor, the likelihood of your previous profession being rated as a doctor is higher than other professions. I'm not actually a mechanic in reality, but I really enjoy tinkering with some mecha figurines. Of course, this is not absolute. It just increases the probability to a certain extent. Qin Zhe probably understands. This old almanac is indeed a bit sinister. During a week, it will observe its various behaviors. This is interesting because Qin Zhe has several real jobs. My first job is as a secret room designer. Responsible for designing various rooms that players find interesting. The second job is to kill the creator of the script. This is one of Qin Zhe's main sources of income. As for the third job, playing with others. But it's not just a companion for online games, but a companion for secret rooms, script killing, and board games. The main purpose is to lead others through the level. Solve the difficulties they cannot solve. It has a bit of a board game mercenary vibe. The encounter with Xiao Wei was in a large-scale escape from a bizarre secret room. The two of them appreciated each other's escape ideas, and thus ignited the flames of love. Qin Zhe's work is not a traditional job. This also made him curious about what kind of profession the seventh-day calendar would give. With continuous understanding of the calendar, Qin Zhe also realized one thing. He needed to make a decision. There are still 6 days to know. But let's make some speculations. So far, the most disruptive aspect of the calendar is its ability to influence reality through its taboos. The greatest value and function of the Chinese almanac is to tell people what to do and what not to do. It is advisable for me to receive gifts from certain behaviors. Avoidance can put me in danger. Cheng Wan mentioned earlier that accumulating the number of taboos and exploring in the realm of the old calendar will result in obtaining the golden calendar manuscript. But when he said this, he immediately changed the topic. The reason is speculated to be due to the existence of inducing taboos. He realized this and changed the topic. But this also indicates that although taboos may put me in danger in certain behaviors, the growth benefits they bring are significant. For example, I experienced a taboo at the recruitment level, which resulted in me obtaining a high-quality and golden calendar manuscript. Qin Zhe touched his chin and already had a conclusion in his heart. Cheng Wan and Duke, like the vast majority of experienced people, do not commit taboos because it can bring life-threatening consequences. Their choice is to follow the trend and avoid the taboo. There is no problem with this. This also indicates that even if one does not commit any taboos and only needs to ensure their own survival, the calendar will bring an improvement in functionality to the holder. But being taboo can accelerate this improvement and has many additional benefits. However, the principle of the company is not to avoid taboos, as taboos can lead to a very difficult day. When various misfortunes come one after another, people may be crushed. It can be boldly assumed that the black calendar mentioned by Cheng Wan and Duke is likely someone who was unfortunately defeated and corrupted by the calendar. Their calendar will turn black, different from the normal silver-white. Although Qin Zhe did not ask these questions, he had already guessed a rough idea when he first heard about the black calendar. So, the downside of taboos is that they attract misfortune and may lead to the downfall of those with dark experiences. Additionally, taboos themselves are very dangerous. The benefit of avoiding taboos is that it will significantly increase one's growth rate as an experienced person, and gain more quality to enhance oneself. By inference, Qin Zhe had a conclusion in his heart. And taboo affect all aspects and may also influence one's career in 6 days. The calendar will observe me and perhaps assign me a certain function based on my various behaviors and real identity. If I survive through repeated taboos during this process, perhaps it will increase the calendar's evaluation of me. The functions I ultimately obtain will be even rarer and more powerful. 2 taboos, the danger is vividly remembered. There is too much eerie in the place called the old calendar realm. Qin Zhe believes that avoidance is wrong. He always felt that the appearance of this eerie calendar itself meant that perhaps 2 worlds were not far away. Perhaps one day, humans will be unable to avoid the realm of the old calendar. At that time, perhaps only strong enough people could survive in that twisted place. This is one of them. Secondly, Xiao Wei is also a calendar holder. With Xiao Wei's temperament, she will never obediently choose to follow the trend and avoid the taboo. She's more like the kind of woman who would stare at the calendar and crave new excitement until midnight. Thinking of Xiao Wei, Qin Zhe's mouth curled up. I want to catch up with Xiao Wei, even surpass her, and completely grasp the calendar, so it's impossible to avoid taboos. I don't have anything to lose. My parents have already passed away and social interactions are pitiful. Even Xiao Wei has temporarily left me. Qin Zhe sneered at himself. Objectively speaking, I don't have the possibility of blackening out, so avoiding taboos seems to be a good way to improve. All the above speculations are actually Qin Zhe making a decision to set a tone for his future style of behavior. Simply put, in the choice between avoiding taboos and embracing taboos, he chose the latter. In the afternoon, Qin Zhe and Du Keqing chatted a lot, which can be considered as adding a lot of interesting knowledge to the old calendar. Of course, these are all things that some experienced people can figure out themselves. Regarding company-level information, Cheng Wan and Duke did not mention Qin Zhe as a temporary worker too much. Other anonymous members occasionally have bubbly topics that are unrelated to the calendar. According to Cheng Wan, they will provide corresponding assistance to Qin Zhe at the appropriate time. During the conversation, Qin Zhe basically confirmed that all his guesses were correct. Avoiding taboos can bring high returns. The time quickly arrived at 11:59 p.m. Qin Zhe has been waiting for this moment since dinner. With the eerie experience of the past 2 days, Qin Zhe now finds playing games uninteresting. It seems that only when a new day arrives and new taboos arise can happiness be obtained. The midnight bell rang again. Just like yesterday, Qin Zhe didn't first look at what he had gained, but flipped the calendar to the latest page. With the appearance of a vocabulary that should not belong to the style of the Chinese almanac, Qin Zhe's face was filled with an expectant expression, gradually becoming frozen. On the 5th day of the 4th month, the day of the 4th lunar month, the day of the 12th lunar month, it is advisable to bury, seek a son, and adopt a child. Avoid confessing. End of this chapter.